Sens trade deadline Friday, 3:00. How many trades?
We're going to be playing this game all week long here.
Let's start with Monday morning.
And it's going to change game by game as the Sens are out west. Right now, I'm just seeing one trade that they can probably make, and it would be for a defenseman. And I don't even know if it's going to be for a defenseman that you can slot in right now. That's the trade that they should make. I just don't know if they've got the pieces to work a deal like that.
Are you talking about, so you think they'll make a depth defenseman deal?
Yeah.
So where would that guy even play?
That's it. I don't exactly, but you can never have enough, right? I don't know if you're looking to deal. Maybe it's just an easy swap of Matt for somebody else. I'm not too sure because I think Matt Palin deserves an opportunity to play, and he's still being healthy scratched.
Well, there's so many different things in play here. Honestly, I wouldn't totally out of hand dismiss Nick Jensen being moved in a depth move. And it's not a direct thing that way. That's if you're going to be able to bring in an upgrade there. I could see that. I could see Fabian Zetterland being moved before the trade deadline on Friday. We've talked about this all season. The coach has spoken. Fabian Zetterland, you know what? He picked up an assist. And on the Matthews turnover goal for one of the Batherson goals, Zetterland, that was him. He got a shot off, won a little battle. It's not like he doesn't do anything. He can play. He's good enough to play every night as one of your forwards. But he plays on the fourth line. He makes $4 million a year. David Perron's going to be healthy very soon. Who comes out? That's my guy. I'm not taking Nick Cousins out right now the way he's playing. I'm not doing that. Stephen Halliday, bang for the buck for the ice time he's getting, and he's on your second power play unit. I don't think Stephen Halliday deserves to come out of the lineup at this stage. All things being equal, he's the healthy scratch. So how he's being utilized by this coaching staff, he is a fourth liner right now. So,
but this is a guy that Steve Staios traded for.
I know.
Brought in, and then handed, less than a year ago, obviously, handed an extension to.
Yep.
That is paying him that $4 million.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to admit that it's just not working.
I agree with you.
You have to be able to do that. Yeah.
And cut bait sooner rather than later. If you think it's not working for whatever reason for you, the best advice is always move on more quickly before the guy continues to do nothing for you and his value just continues to go down. So if you've determined that for whatever reason it hasn't worked, you gave up what in essence was you gave up Ostapchuk and a second-round pick, right? That was the trade?
Pretty much,
right?
yeah.
So, you gave up something of significance. Ostapchuk, I don't think is playing regularly with San Jose yet, but he could be a fourth-line guy at some point. And a second-round pick has some value for sure. So, anyway, I agree with you. I think and even if it's just if and when Perron comes back, if you sit Zetterland, even if it's just, hey, sit in the press box, it's a little bit of a motivator. There's no bigger motivator than grab some pine. So even if it's that, but he has been collectively overall, it was a real slow start. Then he got his together, and then he's just kind of faded into the woodwork again.
Like at the time of the trade, you look at it, and the hope is eventually it's like maybe this is a guy that can play. Maybe he can play with Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk as the right winger on that line. That was a thought. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe he's more the like middle six, probably second line guy and playing one of your power play units. Okay. And now it's like, okay, now maybe he can play a little bit. Can he check a little bit? All right. Now it's like, you know what? When
can he stay in the lineup?
When this team is healthy, Travis Green sees him as like your value is on the fourth line. That's where you play. And when guys have penalties, they get hurt or whatever, and Brady takes a 10-minute misconduct in a game, you'll play a little bit more. That's where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's at. So
that $4 million make it tough to deal him?
With 2 more years at $4 million is what makes it hard.
What I find interesting, very early in the season when he was remember we got put on the fourth line pretty quick at the start of the year. Teams kick tires. So I don't know about now. That's a long time ago. So
yeah, are you forced to eat some of that?
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? You nailed it. It's everybody's like, oh yeah, said somebody has interest. Well, they got interest at a certain level. That interest might be, yeah, I'm interested. You want to take this though to make this happen, and then it's click.
Might have to take contract back.
Yeah, and it's not even a conversation. And listen, this isn't a rumor. This is just like, look at this team, believe what you see, not what you hear. And what I see, how this player is utilized by this coaching staff, he's fourth line right wing and he makes $4 million a year. That's it. You can't get around that. That's how he's utilized on this team. Is that good value? Rhetorically,
No.
he asks.
4.275 for this year and the next 2 years on Fabian Zetterland. So, yeah, maybe he's a guy. Would you consider, if they are going to try to add something to give this team a push, would you consider trading Stephen Halliday? Because if you look at what's available to trade, and if you say, okay, they don't want to trade Yakimchuk, even though it's been a struggle, they still see numbers, draft pedigree, all that other stuff. He's a defenseman, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to trade him. Hensler, first-round pick, had a real tough World Juniors. Now he's had a significant leg injury. He's out for the year. I think it'd be selling really low on him right now, in all probability. So let's take him out of the equation. What's your next best young asset that a team that's cashed it in for the year says, well, we want a young asset. We'll give you X. Would you trade Stephen Halliday?
I would. It's got to be exactly the kind of thing that you need on this team, like to fill that role. I wouldn't do it just like, we need to add a little depth in other areas. And I'm not trying to oversell what Stephen Halliday might be, but man, that's a nice piece of clay right there at the very start of his NHL career. He's big. He's got great hands. He's got good vision. He just seems to be getting more confidence, and he can play center as well. And there's so much value in that.
Well, that's why I say you got to give again.
Exactly. So if you're going to do it, then yeah, let's get really specific. Would I include him in a trade that definitely brought in a top 4 right shot D that's going to be here? Yeah, I'd do that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because if you look down the middle going forward, obviously Stutzla.
He's pretty slotted.
Right? They just signed Pinto to a big extension. They've got Dylan Cousins, who's got to 20 goals now.
Yeah.
They've got, if they wanted to move on from one of those 3 guys, they've got Ridley Gregg, who may be proving to be a better winger than a center, but he's more than capable of being a third-line center in the NHL based on the way that he plays. I mean, they've got what a lot of teams want, which is they've actually got some depth at center, some good depth at center ice. So, what is, if you keep all those guys, what is Stephen Halliday's future? Is it as a winger, which, again, he's been a center his entire career. Now, centers can play wing, but don't get me wrong, but, if you don't have a spot for him and he's not a fourth-line guy, like he's got offensive talent. He shouldn't be playing with fourth-line players down the road. If you're going to accentuate all the positives that he's had, he should be playing in a top 9 role at some point down the road. So if you don't have a spot for him, maybe the best thing is to move him and get something of value coming back the other way. I think he's the best young asset that they have that they would be probably willing to trade that would bring back the most. And again, they've got no first-round pick either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my view on it. I like the player, too. I'm like you. I really like the player. I'm intrigued by it.
Yep.
But you have to look at, you're dealing from somewhat of a position of strength.
I kind of looked at him wondering, if he was going to develop and start to show some, and he has. His underlying metrics of how little he plays is outstanding as well. When you look at league-wide, he's off to a nice start. And the only reason I would somewhat hesitate is I've always wondered, as you map out your depth chart for the coming season and how much money you're allocating for certain things, is Dylan Cousins and Shane Pinto and Ridley Gregg, are those 3 guys definitely here for the long term? And if you determine that, and they're signed, right, fine, then you're right. Then you think, I think we're covered here that way. We've paid for this, depth at center. So if we have another guy and there is real value and we can plug another hole, you do it. But if you think that maybe, well, you know what, maybe we're going to do something else eventually, then you look at the prospect cupboard. What's next? That's a really nice young piece that they have right now in Halliday.
Right.
Who's their second best center prospect in the entire organization? I mean, exactly, right? You want to talk about a cliff.
Yeah. But you do have like the centers that you have right now. They're all in their prime.
Yep,
Right?
absolutely.
So you're all things being equal, you can have health and everything. You don't need to replace. They're all
if
contractually
you're keeping all those
signed.
guys.
Yeah, you're contractually signed. All those guys, they're in their mid-20s. Like they're all right in their prime. So you shouldn't need to replace any of those guys going forward.
No. The other thing is, which was interesting. So Kaliev takes the warm-up on Thursday last week, and it was insurance because Stützle was sick, and he doesn't play. And then it comes out, yes, the NHL has concluded the investigation. Nothing to see here, folks. Kaliev is the best goal scorer in the American Hockey League. And he's been very consistent throughout the season. You look at his numbers, like he's been excellent for Belleville. If you're going to be seen as this one-dimensional guy, and that's a good dimension to have, and he's been doing that at the AHL level. Is there an opportunity that he gets like a real look here? Like they're going out west right now. Is he going to be on this trip at some point? Because now the fact that he was recalled, took the warm-up, and then that news came out, because he would have played the odd game by now. Come on, with the season that he was having.
Yes,
but
sure.
So that was the only thing really holding it up, that he was going to get an opportunity. He played those 2 games very early in the fall before this investigation was restarted. I could see him rejoining the Ottawa Senators here for another look in the very near future.
I was actually surprised when they called him up Thursday. He was scratched because Stützle ended up playing. Then they announced they sent him back on Friday. I kind of thought, based on how Thursday went, and thank you for all the texts, I was wrong on Allmark. He lost in overtime to Detroit, so I was wrong in he's been unbeaten. Sorry, he got a loser point in that. Anyway, all that to say, right, what was the story out of Thursday's game? Another game in which they
Couldn't
just
score.
needed a goal. Well, the top goal scorer in the American Hockey League was sitting in the press box. I thought he would get actually a chance to play on Saturday, potentially, and instead they sent him back. So for a bunch of different reasons, that was a bit of a head-scratcher for me. How many discounting Perron, because, he's on the road back, but not yet? What do they have right now? They have McDermott as an extra and Matt and Palla, right?
Yeah, so they're at 22. They'll activate Perron. That's 23, right? That's basically so. And that's they have a lot of NHL depth at forward when they're healthy. Absolutely. This is why we were talking about Zetterland, and when Perron comes back, and it's because of Halliday and how well he's played, and he's pushing, and Eller's been healthy. And now you're saying, okay, well, if it's Kaliev, then well, let's see what the week brings here. Let's see what the week brings roster-wise. There's going to be a lot of movement around the league this week. Like, everything's been backed up because of the Olympics, and trade deadline's Friday. Like, let's see what the roster looks like as moves start to get made.